Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Front Mission 5, Scars of the War. So I unlocked the third stage of the arena, and I figured why not do a short episode on it, because I've kind of started to unlock the more interesting arena battles that you can do. I'm not saying that they are extremely compelling or anything like that, or even that I'm all that likely to win in them, because they're pretty tough, the ones that I have unlocked now. In the time since the last base section, I've done a whole lot of arena battles and upgrading equipment, so I can just kind of mention that briefly. Basically, did a full refit of everything on Walter, but it's pretty much just linear upgrades. Same deal with Hector. Laura, interestingly, this is a notable point, is that she now has penetration 2 with her rifle. This is really why you want to go with the Gold Tusk AS, because it does get that penetration 2, which is very, very strong. However, because the Glow Tusk AS is so incredibly heavy, and we are using a Frost body, which is not exceptionally light itself, we are using fairly low rank arms. A rank 6 on the right arm and a rank 5 Kyojun arm on the left. I tried to make something work for a more higher ranked arms and trying to get a Kyojun arm on the right, but I haven't really been able to make that happen. So this is just what happens when you only have one turbo backpack, you know? Anyway, Julius, you can see that he has a Blazaya body now, and the Blazaya is actually a purchasable body at this point, which I upgraded to rank 9. It's purchasable at rank 8, and I went ahead and upgraded it to rank 9. The rank 8 body actually can also be upgraded to the Blazaya L model, but I decided to go with the Blazaya for Julius, because it seemed like a good fit for him. And then, I went and upgraded the Art Assault SP to rank 9, as you might expect. Daryl, just straight upgrades across the board. And Patrick, he finally got access to the Fire Ant S. And this is the strongest the strongest flamethrower in the game. So yeah, definitely I am pumped about that. It looks really badass. Just take a look at it here. Looks much cooler than the other Fire Ant models. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool using, what skill is it that he has? Patrick. Wait, what? Oh, I can't. Oh, I guess you can see his skills like this, right? Hellfire. Yes, I want to use Hellfire with the Fire Ant S. So anyway, let's go and check out the arena. I'll just do a few battles, win or lose. I'm not going to. I'm not going to make sure we win or even necessarily save the game after these, because the missions are pretty tough, and there's a fairly good chance we will lose because the arena AI is just like, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. So let's go ahead and do the arena. So you can select 3 pilots at this point. Definitely going to get Daryl in there, and then Julius, because we want a guy for repair, and then the Art Assault is very strong. And you know what? We'll throw Hector in there too. We'll just make a very durable team and hope this works out for us. So, okay. Lots of interesting teams you can fight here. So first of all, we've got iMac, and these are the main characters from Front Mission Alternative that you can fight here. So that's pretty cool. But then I'm sure you'll know these characters a little bit better. It's the team from Canyon Crows. You get Natalie, Royd, and Ryuji. And Ryuji, I'm not quite sure what model that is that he's using there. It must be one of the more exotic Zenith models that I'm not so familiar with. Definitely one of the higher ranked ones, because this team is tough. That's a 1.66 odds. And I don't think the odds necessarily reflect your chance of winning all that well. Sometimes you can make a team that is just very, very well constructed to take out the enemy team, and you can do far better than the odds would suggest. Okay, and then we've got the Muddy Otters, who are the first unit that you basically encounter in Front Mission 2. So in Front Mission 2, there are, I think, 3 main protagonists that you see the game through all of their eyes. It alternates between them. But the unit that you start with is the Muddy Otters. So yeah, you've got Ash, Joyce, and Amiya. Amiya looks really, really different than she does in Front Mission 2 there. It's a very strange portrait of her compared to what she looks like in the actual game. But Ash looks pretty similar, and Joyce looks fairly similar as well. Those are reasonable likenesses of them. And then Royd, Royd looks pretty different. Natalie is kind of similar. Yuji also looks very different. He looks a lot more buff than he does in Front Mission 1. Then we have the Durandal Alpha team. So we've got Elsa, Zeed, and Hermes, and these are just, their portraits from Front Mission 4, so of course they look the same. Durandal Beta is Latona, Bosch, and Beck. They're kind of your B-team characters. And then you've got quote-unquote Gentle Army, which is, of course, some kind of joke, because we just saw them be a little bit rough with that upstart guy. So yeah, you got Roland, Dennis, and Max. They got some pretty badass bonzos there. And then, right, this team. You can fight Olsen, who you might remember as one of the villains from Front Mission 1. And then Hermes and Thamond, who are Front Mission 4 characters. This is kind of a weird team, but actually I believe Olsen, once you get the rank 4 arena battles unlocked, you can fight a team that is like a little bit more what you might expect. You see Olsen on a team with some other villains. So this isn't the final rank of enemies you can unlock, but there are some rank 2 battles you can do against like former main characters as well. So they've got this Wildcats team, which is Elsa and Ivanova from Mission 4. And then there's the Balmung team, Daryl and Elsa. And then you've got Apocalypse, which is Vavilov and Ivanova, the 2 sort of Russian bad guys from Mission 4. I think that's about it for the rank 2, and then you can go see rank 1, and you can fight Ryuji by himself, Vavilov by himself, and then McCoy is available earlier in the game, but he disappears. But that's okay, because we can fight him in the 3-on-3 battles. So we'll start out against the Muddy Otters, because they have the lowest rank here. So we'll see if we can beat them. It looks like Ash is in a Numsakar. Joyce is in a Desmat. Oh, no, wait, that's a Grapple. Is the body at least. And then Amiya is in a Frost. So definitely very different from the Vonzers that they start with in Front Mission 2, because they're just OCU regulars at the beginning of that game. They're not even mercenaries like the Canyon Crows. So I'll bet the farm, why not? Let's see what happens. And then you just put the controller down and watch the AI be really, really dumb. No, I'm just kidding. I will speed through the missions. So at least we get a little bit of a link opportunity here. It's looking pretty positive. And the links don't necessarily happen all that often in this because your enemy or your Bonzers start spread out from each other, and sometimes they'll just kind of go and do their own thing because they're really dumb. Sometimes your mechanics will have enough intelligence to go help out one of your allies if they need it. And like, you see that, right? That is like absolutely moronic, that move there, what Daryl just did. You know, it just makes no sense at all why you would ever move a melee unit into range of a ranged unit and not attack them. It's just, like, there's no advantage, like, there's just no reason why you would ever do that. It just doesn't make any sense. The AI is absolutely terrible in the arenas, and it will often cause you to lose when you shouldn't lose. But sometimes you can just rig the whole situation so that it's so balanced in your favor that you win anyway. Like, look at this. It's just obscene, right? What Durandal is doing. You know, basically mechanics are really strong in the arena because the enemy is just as dumb as you are, right? So having mechanics just like increases your survivability and helps compensate for all the stupid moves your units will do. And there actually are, the mechanics are not that stupid about how they go about healing themselves. So that is a significant point to note. So we got a little bit of healing there. That's definitely good. Okay, we've taken out Joyce. And I guess I'll say something about these characters. So, yeah, they all start out in the same unit at the beginning of the game. They are OCU regulars, part of basically the federal forces that are stationed in Alardesh. And then the base that they're working at comes under attack from the pro-independence forces, the Alardeshi army. Who are hellbent on stealing something that is on the base. And then they flee from the Alardeshi army. After they beat that one unit, they try to go find safety. They try to make a run for the border to go to, I guess it would be to Cambodia. And they kind of get involved in with the mafia, basically, because they first run into another OCU unit, and the head of that unit, Thomas, is a former, or sorry, I should say, like, basically he's a little bit crooked, okay? He does a little bit of smuggling on the side for, in order to make some extra money. And so he has friends in the mafia, and, basically, he brings you along. He brings the Muddy Otters along, and you guys try to get passage using the Mafia's connections to the border, or to escape the country. And you just kind of continually get more and more entangled in the affairs of what is happening in Alardesh with the Mafia and with other groups as well. Um, and there's all this chaos that's going on in the country as the OCU counter invasion goes on, and then of course the whole thing with Fenrir and all that comes along too. But as for the characters themselves, like as I said, they're OCU regulars. Ash is the only member of the unit that is actually like a native-born Alardeshi. Both Joyce and Amia are Australians, and Joyce is kind of like a ladies' man, is kind of how he comes out in the game, and Amia is just like this, what can I say? It's like there's an anime stereotype that applies to her, but I'm trying to think about how to express it. She's the girl that's always getting angry at everybody for causing a ruckus. You know, like she's always complaining about things, but it's not necessarily because she's like spoiled or anything like that. It's more that she is she's kind of a stickler for the rules and kind of risk adverse. I guess those are the two things you would say. And then she has a little bit of a hot temper. And then, you know, guys are always trying to hit on her, too. Because why not, right? So... yeah, those are like these three characters, but, you know, really Ash is the most interesting character by far. The other two characters, Joyce is kind of like... I would compare him very much to Locke in Final Fantasy VI. He's kind of got like a... I wouldn't say he is as much of a rogue as Locke is, but he does have this kind of similar thing about women where, you know, he's kind of this white knight sort of guy. And he gets involved with an Alardeshi woman, and that's kind of his main motivation in the story. But he's Ash's friend and Amia's friend, and then Amia is there mainly for comic relief, and then Ash is like, you know, he's got like a significant backstory that has to do with the history of Alardesh, and he's like a really interesting character because he's very conflicted about being Alardeshi on the one hand, but working for the OCU on the other. And he has quite a history with the Alardeshi military as well. So he's a very, very interesting character. I would say more interesting than any of the characters in Front Mission 5. Even Hector, who is a similarly you know, complex character, but just doesn't have the depth that Ash does as a character, I would say. And then, you know, there's also like the whole thing about the cast in Front Mission 2 is it's a full cast of characters, as opposed to Front Mission 5 where you have so many recruitable characters, but they don't have much in the way of personality, right? But nevertheless, you know, Ash, solid protagonist, definitely one of the best characters in the series. So, we won! I guess I'll go save, you know, I made a little pittance of money there. And then we'll move on to the next group. So hopefully you got a little bit of a sense of who we were fighting there, and kind of what kind of characters you run into in Front Mission 2. Front Mission 2 was the first game in the series where you could actually have, you know, army regulars in your team. Front Mission, in Front Mission 1 you have mercenaries, and then, well, I mean, there's the USN campaign in Front Mission 1 is a little bit more like regulars, but they're not really like grunts, you know, they're kind of a little bit higher up in the echelon. And then Front Mission 3, you know, it's just like, well, I'm sure most of you know what Front Mission 3 is like. You're definitely not dealing with army regulars and that. It's more like, you know, the main character and his wacky friends go on an adventure. But you know, it's I don't want to shit on the game that much. It's just okay, let's decide who we're gonna fight here. Let's go after Durandal Beta. See how that goes for us. You know, the game Front Mission 3, I think, really revolves a lot around either Emma or her sister. Was it? It's been such a long time since I played Front Mission 3. The more interesting one. No, I mean, Emma's okay. She's alright. Her story is widely considered to be the weaker story in the game. Is it Elisa? I don't know. I'm probably mixing characters up here. Anyway, I won't speak anymore, you know, because I already completely ruined my good name by making Daryl's Vonzer purple and yellow instead of purple and orange. That was just, you know, unspeakable. A great atrocity against the memory of Front Mission 3. But yeah, I mean, it's like very much more driven by these girls that you. I guess Emma is more of a woman, and her sister is a little bit more of a girl. That the game kind of revolves around, and then you just have generic JRPG protagonist guy and his friends who join along. There are some interesting characters in that game, but it's definitely very, very different from Front Mission 2, where you're dealing with people like they feel like much more like average people. People who you could plausibly see get caught up in the middle of a war situation. Whereas, you know, like Front Mission 1, you're just like this badass team of mercenaries who happen to recruit some rather odd people occasionally, like journalists and so on. But nevertheless, you're a bunch of badasses. And then Kevin is more like somewhere in between the average sort of guys you run into in Front Mission 2 and the ultra badasses that you have in Front Mission 5, who are just like, you know, the ultra elite spec ops people, right? I mean, Walter doesn't start out that way, but he, as a, you know, I never fail to mention, he's good at everything, so he kind of already has, like, he has the potential within him from the beginning to become the badass spec ops commander that he goes on to become. And you definitely don't get that sense from the characters in Front Mission 2. They're very much more, I guess you could say human, flawed, interesting. Walter is an okay character. He's not like the worst character in the world. He's just not interesting by any stretch of the imagination, because he's too perfect, right? He's just good at everything. He doesn't have any flaws. His only flaw is like caring too much about his friends, which is, you know, that's like one of those stupid things you say in a job interview when you're like, oh yeah, I mean, my biggest flaw is that I try too hard on the job. It's just, you know, this kind of stupid humble brag thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to dismiss Walter's character arc entirely, but he's just not the most interesting character. Serviceable as a protagonist, but not all that interesting as a character. And then you have the characters in Front Mission 4. I think the USN characters are generally more interesting than the EC characters. And that seems to be a fault of the censorship that the game had at the hands of the Square Enix management. Because the EC characters are a little bit more interesting in the novelization of Front Mission 4 that was only released in Japanese. But like characters like Beck and Bosch are just like, you know, it's like they're just there, right? You know, there's a reason why these guys are on Durandal Team Beta, right? It's like, I am the Italian guy, I am the German guy. That's me. There's really nothing much to them. And of course there are characters in Front Mission 2 that there's really nothing much to them either. I don't mean to suggest that it is like this masterwork of storytelling that is unparalleled in the history of gaming. It's just very much... it's very different from the rest of the games in the series, and it has more depth as far as the story goes. But as you know, I've said many times, the battle system is a little bit insufferable, and the mission design is a little bit too extravagant. So, you know, Front Mission 5 clearly comes out ahead as far as the game system goes. And, you know, probably even Front Mission 4 has, in some ways, a better gameplay experience. But yeah, I don't have much to say about these characters, like, because they are just the extras on Durandal. Okay, so we made a little bit more money. Nothing, nothing to write home about. If you're wondering why I'm making so little money on this rather high-ranked level of matches, what the bonus or the benefit to entering battles that have more participants is that you can bet more money at a time. It's not that you can get a better payoff for betting the same amount of money. So if you have very little amount of money, it actually makes a lot more sense to just go ahead and do the one-on-one battles instead of doing the 3-on-3s, because you're just kind of wasting your time. And of course, if you're actually doing the arena, you want to turn off the battle animations, because it's just it's a waste of your time. I'm only doing this because I'm trying to show off the game a little bit here. So, now we're kind of out of the bush leagues, and we have to deal with a little bit more difficult enemies. I guess we'll take on the Durandal Alphas. So, I think, you know, Elsa and Zeed are by far the most interesting characters in the Durandal team. I mean, it's not to say they're the greatest characters, but, like, they're still better than the rest of the guys on that team. So, Elsa in the novel, I think I mentioned this before in the Let's Play, but in the novel of Front Mission 4, she actually has like a drug addiction problem that she's trying to get over. So it makes her a little bit less vanilla than she is in the actual game. And the drug addiction stems from post-traumatic stress disorder. So, you know, something that soldiers struggle with, certainly. And does give her a little bit more depth. And then Zeed is kind of like this father figure, right? So that is a new Vonzer there that what you can see is the Giza. I think it's new. I don't think we've seen that in battle yet. Or maybe we have and I just forgot to include it in the roundup. I think that's actually what happened, yeah. Yeah, because we did have it. There was the airport mission where it showed up as a mechanic unit. So I just forgot to include that in the roundup, and that will have to go in the next one. And then Elsa is in a Zenith V, I think. I may have called it a Zenith 5 in the Vonzer roundup, and that's incorrect because you know, the different models that you see are like DV and so on. It's not D5. Just just want to save V or save 5 because when you see that V, it makes you immediately think of 5. It's usually how things are named in model names. So if we can take care of the mechanic, I think we should be okay. But again, no control over what's happening in the battle, so just having a big healing party. So I think this is probably the last battle we'll do because it's getting quite late here, and probably more or less showed off what the mode has to offer. And I'll do another video. If you know, let me know in the comments if you found this at all interesting, or if it was just simply tedious. Because if it was interesting, then I will go ahead and do another video once I unlock the final set of battles, and you know, we can take on some of the super hard encounters. And I know, like, the viewership for this series is, as all series, you know, do on YouTube, it's basically tailed off. There's only about, you know, somewhere between 30 and 40 people at the most who are watching this series, which is, in YouTube numbers, it's nothing, right? But I do appreciate those of you who have stuck with the series. It's totally to be expected that the viewership will tail off, especially considering how minor my channel is, and it's just a hobby thing, right? It's not something I do for a living where I'm out there promoting it and providing new content every single day. So yeah, those of you who have stuck around and continue to watch, I appreciate it a lot. Let me know if there's anything you would like to see changed for the rest of the game, and I will see what I can do about that. I'm mainly just doing this, you know, partially for myself, so I can just get through the game and kind of say, okay, I've done it, and and partially just so that it's archived up on the internet. That maybe maybe a few hundred extra people will watch this series over the next 5 years, right? Maybe when the new Front Mission game comes out, if indeed it does come out, people will get interested and they'll check this series out and learn a thing or two about the Front Mission series and about the translation of this game. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. I've got plenty of other games I could be playing. Certainly no lack of games available to us these days. But I have been having fun with Front Mission 5. I've been down on it occasionally in recent videos. But I think it is a pretty solid game. Like, my general impressions coming together, I would say the game is like... I'll give a final verdict once we actually finish the game, but for now, my impression is like this game is like an 8 if you don't like the survival simulator, and if you do like the survival simulator, it's probably a 9. Like, out of 10, of course. Because, yeah, I think, like, it offers you a lot more if you do like the survival simulator and you're really into the parts and grinding those out in there. And if you don't, that's okay too. Like, one of the great things about this game is that the balance is set up so that even if you don't want to do the survival simulator, you can still get through the game, and it's not a huge issue. So I really appreciate that a lot about the design of the game. I think that was really, really shrewd of the designers, and they did an excellent job of balancing it that way. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best game on the PS2. Like, I think we can all agree that's the case. But it is a solid game, right? It's an 8. Again, if you don't like the survival simulator like myself. And I'm glad that I could help bring in a game that is an 8 to a wider audience. Even though the PS2 has a very, very strong library, it's always nice to have another game of that quality available. And I think probably a lot of people who start this game, they probably don't finish it. That's just the impression I would get, or I do get from playing through it myself, that it feels slow. And if you really don't know the lore to the extent that I know the lore, even though I make embarrassing mistakes here and there about Front Mission 3. If you don't know the lore to that level, it probably doesn't offer you as much. So I hope that my commentary has made the game a little bit more accessible, a little bit more interesting. Because I know that is like a failing of the game. On the other hand, I think it's perfectly possible to just like ignore the story completely if you're not that into it and play through the game and have a pretty good time. Because, like I keep coming back to, I think the mechanics of this game are very solid. But yeah, it's a slow game, and I feel like it's maybe exceptionally slow. If you compare it to a game like Final Fantasy Tactics, I feel like it is a much slower experience. And I think that is probably something that doesn't necessarily cause people to put the game down right away, but probably causes them to quit playing like halfway through or something like that. That's kind of my impression. I don't necessarily think that is a huge failing of the game. I don't think slow games are necessarily always bad, and I think the game does still deserve that 8 or 9. But if the game was consistently more engaging, it might get up there to the 10 range, you know? Even if it was slow, but like it just kept your interest a little bit better in those slow parts. I think it might get a higher score, but you know, I'll give my final impressions on the game when we finish the game. So for now, you know, I said this was going to be a quick video, but here we are at 40 minutes. I guess that is quick by the standards of this series. So for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, if you have any feedback, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time with that simulator video.